What is the hallmark of a successful town council in a global pandemic? Breck council candidates explain. Phil Lindemann, Krystal, 93 News. First, the I-70 mountain corridor was eerily quiet this past weekend as fewer than 41,000 vehicles drove through Summit Friday through Sunday. That's how many cars passed through the tunnels in just one day last Saturday. The final day ski resorts were open, and 103,000 fewer cars than the same weekend last year. Average daily traffic was 13,613 cars, one-third the daily average from 2019, half the daily average from 2000. A pair of car thieves are in county jail today after a chase on Highway 9 and US 6 yesterday. Sheriff Jamie Fitzsimons on the Krystal Morning Show today.
It was more like Keystone Cops, the chase through Silverthorne and through Keystone.
And back and forth.
And back and forth and back and forth.
44-year-old Jesse Matamalis of Kremmling and 42-year-old William Altenlo of Denver evaded a state patrol traffic stop north of Silverthorne. The two led authorities through Dillon to the top of Loveland Pass and then back to Keystone where they blew a tire. Police found the pair hiding under a bridge near River Run Gondola. They face charges of felony auto theft and multiple warrants. Deputies considered sending the two back to Denver on their warrants, but that's not happening with virus precautions.
A lot of jurisdictions have stays on their local warrants, meaning they're not cashing them in. And so, of course, we call the front range and they're like, oh, thanks, you can keep them.
To combat viral spread between inmates, the county jail has new procedures.
After we screen them, as we're doing everybody that comes to the jail now, we do have a couple cells that we have isolated outside of our general population that we decided we booked these two gentlemen suspected of car thievery.
It's the same procedure for all new inmates, barring changes to state or local public health orders. In Denver, starting in just 1 hour, hundreds of thousands are on mandatory house arrest for COVID-19. So how is that any different than yesterday? Denver Mayor Michael Hancock explaining the state's first stay-in-home order.
We're going to do everything we can to educate and inform and to discourage the residents of Denver from moving about. And then we're going to enforce as necessary, whenever and however we have to make sure that we comply with this public health order.
Summit and neighboring counties are not under a stay-in-home order yet, but Sheriff Jamie Fitzsimons had this to say based on policing in areas like San Juan County, where the sheriff was ticketing non-local backcountry users.
There's a lot of community pressure out there to be more restrictive because people see this stuff going on. So I don't think we're there yet, but could we get there? I don't think there's anything out of the question.
More than 10,000 locals are jobless right now due to widespread business closures, and that includes Summit County's working homeless population. Rachel Kelly, a local advocate for working homeless, says her peers depend on facilities like rec centers for showers and toilets and full-time jobs to pay for expenses like gas and medical bills. Most live year-round in their cars and RVs, and even before the COVID outbreak, it was not often by choice.
It's not just a Summit County thing. No community escapes homelessness or working homeless. Every community in the United States has that population.
Local towns are working now on rent relief and other programs for jobless locals. 12 candidates are running to fill 5 empty seats on Breckenridge Town Council this April, and priorities have changed wildly in 18 days since Summit's first case of COVID-19. Today, we ask candidates what leadership looks like in a post-COVID Breck. Dennis Kuhn, a resident of 43 years, making his first run for office.
It's an incredible opportunity for leaders to lead. To be a strong leader, you need to be a leader from a position of clear and proactive action. And you have to have a plan.
Hal Vatcher, another first-time candidate with lengthy experience on town commissions.
Leading by example is very important. So if we set rules or make statements, we better be prepared to walk the talk ourselves.
Incumbent Councilman Jeff Bergeron reflecting on the tough decisions Council has already made in the past 3 weeks.
And there's an expression I use a lot, shoot the snake closest to your foot. So, our first concern was trying to lessen the spread of this and be on the ground and actually just be flexible and have a fluid decision-making process.
First-time candidate Emily Wall.
Our leaders are going to need to look at what are the different economic models to see how funds can become available to help the workforce. And these could be things like food vouchers, reprioritizing the capital projects, and tax incentives for our businesses.
Jen McTamey, who sat on council during the 2008 recession and applauds the current council for shuttering businesses and canceling events early.
To have the courage to close
and do the right thing, I think that's great leadership.
Incumbent Mayor Eric Mamula reflecting on his own restaurant business and why policy depends on experts.
Now, I could easily say, hey, look, we don't have that many cases. Why are we doing this? Because I am worried about my business. But I think leadership is listening to people that know what they're talking about, to listen to the people that understand these things, and to enact what they say is the proper protocol for a crisis like this.
As of today, no one has dropped out of the race, and all candidates we have interviewed say they are committed to recovery. Mail your ballots in before April 7th or drop them off at the county building on Lincoln. There is no drop-off at Breck Town Hall. A reminder that Breckenridge and Frisco are holding regular town council meetings tonight with streaming video on Facebook and town websites. Chambers will be closed to the public. In sports, Tokyo will not host the 2020 Olympic Games this year. Late yesterday, organizers announced the Games will be postponed by 1 year due to COVID-19, soon after Canada, Australia, and more said they would not send athletes to the Games. And in local sports, brought to you by Wilderness Sports in Dillon, the statewide high school sports shutdown continues, including prep sports and all extracurricular clubs. Students could return to classrooms Tuesday, April 17th, if the governor's office does not extend the closure. Spring sports would return April 18th. Phil Lindemann, Krystal, 93 News.